Hello everyone, and welcome to the Henchman's Memoirs. This is our 5e Dark Souls of Drakkenheim campaign recap. And when we last left off, our characters were deep inside Schloss Mordenheim, a off-books part of the campaign based on the video game Dishonored and some work done by by PhD&D's Dr. Bowers. So the party was in the process, when we last left off, of exploring the first floor of Schloss Mordenheim. They had come in the back door here. They had investigated this area. Well, first they went in here and they fought the slimy bullet. They saw these stairs going upstairs. After they finished him off, they investigated this room, which was where quintessence was being distilled in these giant vats that were all the way up to the third floor. They explored in here, and this was just a little smoking room that turned out to not have too much they were interested in. And when we left off, they had come through into this area, which I believe was the music room, and they had found this viewer that let them look into a realm containing an aboleth that tried to take over their minds, and so they turned that off. So the party was firmly convinced they didn't want to take this elevator, and they didn't want to take these stairs until they had explored the rest of the first floor. So they came across over here and found this dining room. And here Dr. Bowers told me to put basically the teleportation pods from the movie The Fly. So I kind of came up with a Dishonored / Victorian version of those. And there was a big sort of chalkboard, corkboard kind of thing up here. And they looked at the teleportation pods, and they were like, well, that's not going to teleport you very far. That's not very good science, which I thought was hilarious. But when they looked at the corkboard, they saw all these notes and so forth. And one note that they found, I think, on the dining room table was that the head butler had been ordered to take all of the meteoric iron out of the various displays and put it in the vault. So the players were like, that's where we've got to go. And then they looked at the scientific notes on the corkboard, and one of my players joked, warning, if trying to test this device on a fly, make sure that the chamber does not get contaminated with Jeff Goldblum, or a horrible monstrosity could result. So after they cleared that, I believe they went around here, they kind of explored. There wasn't a whole lot left to find. This is the elevator upstairs, and then there was a locked door here. So after they had kind of explored the rest of this floor, they opened the locked door and got down into the basement. So the basement area had some weird kind of preserved hill giant eyes and chul tentacles. Of course, the elevator's down here as well, and this kind of goes out of the basement. There was a gate here that leads out to the sewers. But this gate had been blown open blown inward actually, by some titanic force. And there were little blobs, little blotches of some kind of weird, foul-smelling ichor that went from here to the elevator. So the players decided, we're going to relock the door at the top of the steps, but we want to try to block this off too. So the artificer, Atticus, decided he tried to break the little gate on this so that it couldn't be opened properly. He got it completely off the track, and so then they went upstairs, and they're like, okay, so now there's stairs going up in sort of the entryway, and there's stairs going up in the main sort of great room. They decided to go up the great room stairs and found themselves in this very difficult to describe without terrain, which for whatever reason I wasn't using terrain. They found themselves in this area where they're looking down over the main area. Well, they knew this room was dominated by that pools from the first floor, those vats that they were distilling quintessence. And over here, there's this enormous gate. There was this heavy gate with this very intricate-looking lock mechanism that was obviously artificer stuff extraordinaire. There's an elevator here. So Atticus started messing around with this gate and found out pretty quickly he's going to need the actual key. He's not going to be able to just pick it open or something like that. So the rest of the guys came over here to kind of watch these two doors. Pietro stuck his head through this door and saw, okay, this is the entryway, and he could see this hallway. So they haven't explored that. They don't know where that goes yet. But they decided to come through here. This area is where the lord of the house had his exotic bird collection. So the walls were all decorated to look like an outdoor scene, and they kind of came in here, and there's all these cages full of bird bones and everything. They were waiting for the bird bones to spring to life, but they didn't. They got down here, and they decided to go clockwise through these areas. They explored this room. This was just a little bathroom, but there was this weird cabinet in the back that I got out of a Pathfinder adventure that's full of like different skin swatches from different humans, and basically it's the guy from Silence of the Lambs, where he's getting ready to put together a skin suit. And this is actually after the meteorite fell. Somebody's been using this as a base. So that was creepy, but nothing that they needed to deal with right away. They got in here, and this was like a storage room. I think they found a couple potions in here and a few other things. This was just a basic storage space. And then there was a door here. This, in my setup, is a separate room, right? Instead of just being open to the floor below. So they came here, and this is a really important room. So I've signed up for a Kickstarter. Maybe I can put a link in the corner, probably not, but it's called Steinhardt's Guide to the Eldritch Hunt, and it's basically based on Bloodborne, which is one of the big inspirations for my Ravenloft campaigns in general, the look of Bloodborne and all this kind of stuff. So I took a picture from that upcoming book that shows all these trick weapons. I guess in Bloodborne you use all these weapons that transform from one form to another. And the book is full of all kinds of really cool ideas for trick weapons. And there's a picture of a whole bunch of them hanging up on a wall. So I put that in here, and it's basically loaded with all these awesome looking weapons. And then kind of right here in the middle, I put a mannequin dressed up as a Jaeger, which is in Steinhardt's what they call the hunters from Bloodborne, right? So there's this mannequin with this. I described the leather jackets they wear in Brotherhood of the Wolf, and all of my players were like, never heard of it. So that was a high point. But there was basically this mannequin outfitted to demonstrate what a Jaeger would look like. And then over on this side of the room was a separate display case with this glass, and there was a pistol in there with this sort of soft light shining down on it, and it's all encased in glass, and it's on a little stand that's on a pillow like the crown jewels or whatever. So as soon as they went in the room, Atticus starts a ritual casting of Detect Magic. Pietro goes over and wants to make sure that the mannequin is just a mannequin. It was Nexel who actually went over and started investigating the weapons and found out that they're just mock-ups, right? That they're not actual working versions of these weapons. They're just display models. And so it was Thaddeus who was left to look at this pistol in the special display case. So he decides, I'll just use a magic stone. I'll break the glass, because what else am I going to stand here and do? So as soon as he does that, an alarm goes off. They hear an alarm bell ringing out here. And they're like, I'm like, okay, guys, what are you going to do? What is each one of you going to do? So Pietro moves out here to try to see actually out here it would be, moves out here to kind of see what's coming, right? And I think Nexel went with him at first, and then eventually Thaddeus comes out too. Atticus was still like he's one round into the 10-minute casting of Detect Magic. So he didn't want to break concentration until he found out what was actually happening. So out here, I wanted to bring in basically the Clockwork Soldiers guys from Dishonored, right? Of course, because this is a map from the video game Dishonored, and, you know, I'm one of those guys. This, among my Pathfinder Pawn collection, this was about the closest thing I could find. And so 2 of these things drop down on chains, and they're like, intruders, alert, intruders, alert, you know, and start coming this way to see what's going on. So there was a brief fight here between them, and basically it consisted of old Pietro coming out and you know, doing his monk business. I don't remember I think Nexel started off with a fireball that was big enough to get both of them. They're resistant to fire, but they still took pretty good damage. And then Thaddeus decides, at first he's like, I'm going to use my magic stone, and then I'm just going to close this door. And I think Pietro was on the outside at the time. He was just like, maybe they can't get through this door. These minis were pretty big, and the terrain setup I had, this door didn't look too big. He's like, maybe they won't be able to get through, you know. So, and this is where I need your help in the comments, especially those of you who've been dungeon masters. There was a moment, I think Atticus gave up on Detect Magic and started coming around to help. And then there was this moment, friends. There was this moment where I, as the DM, had to make a ruling. Thaddeus decides he's going to cast Heat Metal on one of the Clockwork Soldiers, right? So he's like, are these things made of metal? I'm like, heck yeah, they're made of metal. They're Clockwork Soldiers. And he's like, okay, well, I'm going to cast Heat Metal on this guy and see what that does. So I had him read the description to me. And the description says that you can target a crafted metal object, something that's not, you know, just raw iron in the ground or something that's actually been worked and manufactured out of metal. Okay? Now, clearly, these guys have been worked and manufactured out of metal. The problem is, if you want to use lawyer language, in 5th edition, is a clockwork automaton an object? Because when a spell uses the word object, it means in contradistinction to a creature. Okay? A clockwork automaton is a what do you call it? A construct, right? A clockwork automaton is a creature that is a construct of the construct type. He is not an object until he dies. Okay, so that's the way I ruled it, and I need you guys to give me a thumbs up if you think I ruled right, or drop into the comments and give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down, tell me whether you think I'm the best DM of the century or the worst. But I ruled it, yes, they're made of metal. No, you cannot use heat metal on them because they are not objects, they are creatures. So instead, he cast Fairy Fire, which ended up working out just great because the party the two-party fighter types, tanks, were able to get out there and get serious about fighting them. He turned into a bear and decided he wanted to come out here and attack him. And I thought, that's great because they have resistance to non-magical attacks. But he's a high enough level moon circle druid, whatever. Now, you know, the rules are always against me. Now, all of a sudden, his claws count as magic claws. So, but in the process of coming out, he had to get through a space with Atticus in it. And instead of pay the penalty for difficult terrain, he just knocked Atticus down and was out here. And they killed one, and when it got destroyed, all the plates fall apart, and a big heart of meteoric iron drops out. And I described it going ding, 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 like it was going to fall into the main Great Hall here. And Atticus was prone at this point, and, you know, he acted out like he was trying to reach towards it and crawl towards it. But anyway, they destroyed them both. and got the meteoric iron hearts out of them, and now they're going to be able to hopefully next session finish exploring Schloss Mordenheim, figure out where the vault is, if it's behind that door, find the key to it and get in, and hopefully next session we'll be moving on from Schloss Mordenheim. Hey, listen, give us a like if you think I'm a great DM, and even if you think I'm not, and give us a subscribe. We'll catch you next time on the Henchman's Memoirs.